Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV and welcome to this new series, and it's called Pre-Season Friendly. And what we do on this series is we invite some City fans onto the channel, and we're basically going to talk about things that are happening at the moment and ask some questions about the future. And what we've done today is invite two of the guests who appeared in the Who Are You series. One of them is Phil. So Phil, welcome to this new series.
Thanks, Andy.
And we've also got Chris.
Cheers, Andy. Hi, Phil.
Hi, Chris.
So what we're going to do today is we've got a few questions we're going to talk about. And the first thing I want to talk about is obviously the news that over the last few days we've signed two new players, or maybe one new player and one returning player. So if we talk about the first one that was announced a couple of days ago, and that was the 22-year-old Angelino. So I'll go over to you first, Phil. What were your thoughts on City bringing back Angelino for a reported 5.3 million buyback, even though I think some were quoting it was 12 million euro, but it's regardless of the figure. Doesn't matter. What were your thoughts?
I'm really pleased with it, to be honest with you. I was very pleased to see him coming back. Although, if you remember a few days before, some of the rumours that I was hearing, I don't know about you, was that we may be buying him back just because we get him cheaper on the buyback thing, and then sell him on again.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're not doing that, because I think he'll do well if he gets a chance. I really do. I like it. Yeah, I do.
What are your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer, Andy. He's a homegrown player. He's cheap. He knows City inside out. I think he's a good buy. I think, hopefully Mendy can stay fit the majority of the season. But, now we know we have got a proper left back who can fill in. Not that Zinchenko's done anything particularly bad,
No.
but I think Angelino, being a proper left back will fill in better.
Well, it's certainly even at 22, he's had a lot of experience, because he went from obviously City to New York City. Then he had a loan spell at Girona, followed by another loan spell at Mallorca. Then he went to NAC Breda before moving to PSV. Now he's back at City. So that's it's a lot of experience in different countries, not only the academy 3 years he had at City. So it should stand him in good stead.
He's actually Dutch born, is he not, Andy? But we can claim him as homegrown because he came through the academy. Is that right?
He can because he came through the academy. We can definitely claim him as there. So there's no issues with that. So we've got him as a homegrown player. Yeah, absolutely. Now, if I said to you, Chris, let's say Mendy gets injured, Zinchenko or Angelino to start at left back?
Right now, Zinchenko, because he knows the system inside out. I think it's going to take any new player coming in a little bit of time to adapt to Pep's ways, because I don't think they are typical football ways. So I think Zinchenko would be holding that second berth at the minute. But I think Angelino, in time, might take that himself.
Same question to you, Phil. If Mendy's injured, who starts at left back, Angelino or Zinchenko?
Zinchenko again for me.
Yeah.
What I do like about him the most, apart from his obvious ability, they're all very, got loads of ability, was when he was looking like he was about to be shoveled out the door, and Pep kind of warned him, I think, didn't he? I think you mentioned it a few days ago, and what he did was respond in the way that a winner responds. And he said, you know what, I'm having this, I belong here, and I'm going to prove it. Yeah. And that, for me, means that it's his place for definite.
Well, I mean, he had the opportunity, didn't he? I think it was a £16 million move to Wolves. So a nice signing on fee, probably regular football, when at the time he wasn't guaranteed to be a starter for City. And, the kid has proved himself and said, no, I'm willing to fight. And last season, unfortunately for Mendy, he was injured, but Zinchenko came in and did a great job. I'll be honest with you, I think he's done a really good job, just like Delph did the season before. I thought the season before, Delph did a great job. He's got a lot of stick last season.
Sorry, I think that's the thing as well with Zinchenko not leaving, was that he was behind Delph and he still stayed.
Yes.
Past Delph, whether it was through injury, when they were both fit, he was the number one pick, wasn't he? So
yeah. I don't know if Delph. It'd be interesting to see the timeline, actually, because you remember that time when he was made England captain for one game, I don't know if that went to his head, because he seemed to never be the same since.
Yeah. He
I
made a couple of mistakes, didn't he? But last season
Yeah.
he did have 3 or 4 niggles that he just couldn't get into a 3 or 4 game
couldn't
period.
shake him off, yeah.
And he just couldn't, and he didn't look like the player, and then he made those mistakes and things like that. So, left back then, Mendy, Angelino, Zinchenko. Who starts?
Zinchenko.
Over Mendy?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think he's better than Mendy, I do.
What?
I do. Sorry, I do.
Really? Okay, Chris?
Mendy for me.
Mendy.
Yeah, I was at the game when he got injured at Palace, and I thought that was a really awkward challenge that he made, a bit clumsy. So I do think there are defensive frailties in his game. But going forward,
oh yeah, well.
There's no left back in the world who can provide assists like he does. So that's my reason. We get most of the possession, so defensive wise isn't so. But it's important, but it's not such a worry. And I think Mendy just fires those balls in, and for Aguero it must be a dream.
He just seems brittle to me, though. I don't think we're going to get a run of games out of him at all.
I think he's possibly got this season. Now, he's hardly on, if any, on social media now. For the last couple of months, you rarely see him. Where for the last 12 months, it's been nothing but the Mendy show. On social media. Hardly seen him for a couple of months. He's been out in Barcelona on this new recovery program with Dr. Cugat. Things seem to have gone well. So maybe the corner. He's turned this particular corner, and Pep said to him, that's 2 seasons now, 2 bad injuries. Yeah. You need to sort your personal life out and focus on your football, and you've got another season. Otherwise, if you have another major injury, that's it.
Yeah. The other worrying thing for me was on his more about his personal life as well. Was apparently he's very good friends with Pogba, isn't he? And they're party boys, aren't they?
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean? And I do believe, like we said the other day on that other show we did, to me, it's just as important what you do away from the club as what you do at the club. And if he's going to live that way, he's going to. I mean, look at Pogba. He's potentially world class, isn't he? But he's never going to realise his potential, I don't think. Certainly not at the Rags, anyway.
Yeah. Well, so that's welcoming. I don't know whether you said Dutch, but he's Spanish.
Is he Spanish? Is it? I thought he was.
So I think he'll do a really good job, a really, really good job for City. Plus, he knows the club. He knows the academy, everything else. So he'd be able, hopefully, to settle in really well. And then we had the big announcement, which we talked about on Man City Fan TV. I thought he'd be our first signing, not the second, but I was always confident he was definitely coming. And posted on Twitter the other night that somebody had posted that a mate they'd seen him in the hotel, walking into a hotel. So it was pretty much guaranteed with the release clause. And we announced the £62.8 million signing of Rodri. Or Rodrigo, or Rodney, however you want to call it.
Dave.
He'll get plenty of that stuff, I'm sure. Yeah. So over to you, Chris. First, what were your thoughts on Rodri, the signing of Rodri, which I think we all sort of knew for the last week or 2 weeks, definitely coming.
Absolutely delighted. He is the much needed transfer we needed. Fernandinho is our linchpin. I think if he's not first name on the sheet, then he comes in at second or third. He is such an important player. He's 34. He can't go on forever.
No.
Rodri has now got some time to learn. Doesn't need to go straight into the team. And I'm sure he'll be holding that berth for many seasons to come. I'm really excited by him.
Phil?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I can only echo that. I think I mentioned to you yesterday, Andy, on an email that when I watched this presser, how impressive is he as a human being, as a young man?
Yeah,
his English is fantastic as well, which tells you something about him at that 23. But he was just so composed, and so he was a little bit me, I going on. But that's okay. At that age, you understand it. He actually reminded me of a younger Eden Hazard, very similar in character, I think, and. If he ends up half the player, then we'll do all right. I was just so impressed with him. I really was.
I think the feedback from certainly the live presser that was put on by City yesterday. I think City fans. I think they all thought it's a great signing. Well, I think when they sat down and everybody was watching that press conference live, and I think everyone just came away with it even more impressed.
Yeah,
just about how sensible, how confident, how well, the way he comes across. I thought was excellent in his interview in the press conference. The way he handled his English is excellent as well. So,
well, he said, didn't he? He left home at 16, 17, 3 big long trips to the States just to learn English.
Yeah. So we know
place to learn English, but anyway.
So what we're going to get from him is there's going to be no issues with regards to the language barrier. So he's going to be able to fit in. He's got the Spanish players. He's got Pep there can speak Spanish. He's a couple of the coaches that can speak Spanish as well. So there'll be no issues with transferring information and tactics, and it's going to be easily understandable to Rodri when he starts training next week on Monday. So.
Again, though, that presser again, it would have been so easy for him as a Spaniard when they were pushing him, they were kind of prepping him, I think, to say this. Oh yeah, I made because of Pep, and he said, yeah, Pep's a great coach, and I'd love to work with under him, and it's going to be great. But that's not the main reason. It's the club, it's the team, it's the winning mentality, and the players you've got already. There's just something about. I think he's going to be absolutely awesome. Although I probably need to tell you that you probably don't know this. I'm the guy on Blue Moon Forum years and years ago that said this Aguero guy's never going to do a thing for City. So how wrong do you want to be?
Okay, thanks for coming on. See you later.
I've never heard of him before that. I said he's too small. He's never going to do a thing.
Well, at least you're honest.
Gun, foot, bang.
Hey, listen, I was the one that said, not last season, the season before, I'm not sure about Bernardo Silva. We all do it. We all do it, don't we? But yeah, Chris, Rodri, do you think he's going to get plenty of game time, or do you think it's going to be more of a rotational thing with Fernandinho this season?
I think he'll get plenty of game time, maybe the second half of the season. Especially if we maintain this cup runs that we keep going deep, we're definitely going to need him. Whether he starts the really, top matches at this start, I don't think so. At the start of the season, I think for Fernandinho to lose that shirt, he's going to have to get injured, or he's going to have to drop off massively in form, and he's never done it. So
no,
I can't see it happening now.
He's super consistent, isn't he? He might have the odd bad game and things like that, but on the whole, very, very consistent Fernandinho. And hopefully with the fact of Rodri coming in, it might even prolong him for another year at City. Who knows?
You could say that,
yeah, you just don't know. We might, if he gets plenty of rest, looks after his body, gets lots of recovery time and a couple of holidays throughout the season, to go away back to Brazil for a couple of weeks, and it may give him another year, and that's why I think, the likes of, sadly for the wrong reasons, David Silva went away from City for weeks on end. I think that will possibly help him certainly in this final year going into his contract. So, yeah, 2 excellent signings. We'll talk about who potentially might come in shortly. But one thing I wanted to do, I was just looking at some statistics. I've got them on my phone, but what I might do is I might put them up on the video when we go back. And it was about the age of the squad, the age profile of the squad, when Pep Guardiola arrived in the 2015-16 season. And just looking at it, obviously you can't see it at the moment, but we had, the odd 19, 21-year-old. We had a number of 25-year-olds, a few 26, 27. Then the majority of the team were 28, 29. Loads. The oldest was, the main bunch were in their at 30, then 31, and a number at 33, 34, and a few at 35. So the age range of the team when Pep came in was pretty old. It really, really was. But then if you go and look at the age profile of the squad under Pep Guardiola from last season, the 18-19 season, we had couple at 19, quite a few at 22, 23, a load at 24. The majority were 25, none at 26, a couple at 27, a few at 28, 29, none at 30, a few at 31, a few at 33, and a couple at 34. So the age of that squad has suddenly, within 3 years, gone from what would have been, I would imagine, I've not done the figures off the top of my head, but around about 28, 29, 30, down to 24, 25.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on that?
Awesome. Really awesome. I mean, that's the way to do it. It's building for the future.
Yeah.
Does it give us an idea that he maybe is staying for the really long haul?
Who knows? Wouldn't that be great? Well, just one other point on the statistics. This is last season, the 18-19 season. Minutes played. Sorry, let me just move that. Minutes by players currently aged between 22 and 26 in the Premier League last season. United, just 16,500. Arsenal, 9,000. Tottenham, 14,000. Chelsea, 12,000. Liverpool, 11,500. City, 18,808 by players between 22 and 26.
Yeah.
It shows you that squad is mainly made up of young players and still, I mean, let's face it, depending on position, some players don't reach their peak until 20, 28, 29, or even 30, 31 if they're a centre back or something like that. So,
you know, if you think about it, is that why we're losing or have lost quite a few decent academy players? Because they take a look at the full team, or it's all very young already, and it's not like they can just wait for them to drop off in the conveyor belt, as it were. They might be looking at that thinking, I'm just never going to break in there. Like Brahim for a start, you know. That's
a really, really good point. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Well, I think on that point, especially, I think the recent transfer strategy of the team is to bring in, you know, the youngish players, talented players, and it's going to be so much harder for academy prospects to get through. It'll be harder and harder. Yeah. And I think as fans, we have to accept that, and that the academy is really going to make us money maybe before it's going to bring in that many players. It will be great to bring players like Foden and maybe Garcia through, you know, that. But I think we have to accept the academy isn't going to fill the majority of our slots, because the transfer strategy is to go out and buy young, talented players and try not. I mean, I know we spend a lot of money, but we're not spending 100 million on players, 200 million on players. You know, it seems fairly sensible.
I mean, it's interesting because I've said it on numerous occasions when, you know, talking about the likes of Phil Foden. To get in this, you know, or it's one thing training with the first team squad. That's one thing. To even get a place on the bench is something else. To actually break into this first 11, you only had to listen, going back to Rodri's interview yesterday when he said, you're playing with world-class players in defence, midfield, and you have to be sensational. You have to be something else. You have to be where Foden is being talked about now. You know, should really be in the full England squad at that level. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be really, really hard for some of these academy players unless they are exceptional.
So with that in mind, then at 16, 17, the academy guys are looking at the first team, and if they do think I'm never going to get in there, well, then do we really want them anyway? Because you've got to want it and believe in yourself to get to that. And if you don't, then we don't want you anyway, with respect to them. You know, they can go to Wolves and Everton if they want, then, can't they?
Yeah, and or maybe at that age group level, we've seen the likes of, all right, Phil Foden has wanted to stay, is a Manc lad and everything else, and he's something special. We know that, but he is a one-off. It's, you know,
it's very rare.
It is very, very rare.
The kid from Bridge Hall in Stockport, it's very rare.
Absolutely. So are the academy coaches, Simon Davis and others, are they telling these kids, look, loan deals are the best way for you to go, you know, and getting them out on loan with buyback clauses, or went through Angelinos, New York City, Girona, Mallorca, NAC Breda, PSV. Yeah. You know, that is in 3 years. He's had, or 4 years. He's had, I think 3 years. I think it is. He's had 5 different clubs. in different countries. Now he's back at City at 22. It's not like we've got a lot of academy kids there that are 20, 21, still at the club, and not gone on loan and not had that exposure to these other big teams around different countries.
Well, each of the people you mentioned there, the kids at the academy should look at Foden as a living proof that it can be done.
Yeah.
But you need patience, not just super talented. You've got to have patience and blah, blah, understanding. But also, like you say, Angelino, he's landed in the same team via a different route, and he's got the experience of, as you say, 3 or 4 different countries now to bring with him.
Yeah.
Still only 22.
Yeah.
They're going to bring something very different to the table, but equally, probably both going to make the first team sooner or later.
I think as well. Sorry,
Yeah, Chris.
I think as well, you have to accept as well that players come of age at different times in their lives. I mean, Rooney, horrible. But 16, 17, he looked like a Premier League player, and Thierry Henry was in his mid-20s when he really hit his straps. And players take different lengths of time to mature, don't they? And
that's late last night. I was listening to Talk Sport, and I was listening to the Brentford B team coach. He played for Dagenham and Redbridge for 10 years and Brentford for 8 years and things like that. And it was really interesting listening to him, a young coach coming through. And they were talking about that and saying, how do you bring them through? And, how do you keep them motivated knowing that the chances are really slim? And he said, look, a lot of the times it used to be you're looking for big 6'4" lads and thinking we can work. He's got all the strength, physicality. We'll work on his technical abilities. Then you've got others who are very small, very technical, but haven't got the strength. He said, and we don't pick and choose them that way. We actually say, right, all right, this kid here is only small, but he's technically brilliant. Yeah. We'll just give him another year or two because he might
fill out of it.
And if he doesn't, then we can move him on. Because we've realised this whole process, because apparently they've got a really good academy system there for bringing through youngsters, albeit not for the Premier League, but for other clubs around the country. So I think you're right in that. While we're just quickly talking about academy players, anybody you think could potentially come from the academy in the next, 12 months, 18 months, except, regardless of Foden, anybody else you think might make it into the first team squad for Cup?
There's only Garcia I know of. Really, I'm not really a big follower of the academy, I'll be honest with you.
Well, he's around the first team squad permanently for training now into the 1920 season. So, how many games do you think he'll actually play next season, or do you think he'll play a lot? Carabao
Cup for me, and maybe the FA Cup. I don't think we're going to prioritise them 2 cups anyway this year. I know that's another question, but I don't think we are, and I don't think we should. That's
Chris?
my opinion.
To come through, Andy, again, I think even Garcia is struggling to get through this year. Is it Adrian Burnaby or something like that? Yeah. He looks a really skillful lad, doesn't he? And Paveda looks like a decent player. But I kind of do accept that not many of our kids are going to make it into the first team because it is so difficult. Yeah. That's a good thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
As to pick up trophies, who cares?
That's the standard we're at. I mean, I'll give you a couple. You mentioned Adrian Bernabé, who we got from Barcelona. He came on, I think he played in the Oxford away game in the Cup. You mentioned Paveda, who's obviously English. He played on the left wing, I think it was, against Burton. Joel Latabaudiere, who is the academy captain. He was the captain of the England under-17s when they won the World Cup in India, when obviously Phil Foden got those 2 goals in the final. So he was touted as being exceptional, but he had a bad season with injuries last year. So hopefully he'll have a decent season this season in the academy. And obviously we've got the grandson of the famous Mike. We've got Tommy Doyle. So who's he's looking pretty exciting, and hopefully he'll get more time around the academy. Certainly this season coming. So we've got and these others as well. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult. But moving on to the next one. So we've got 2 in. Who else? This is for you, Chris. Who else do you think which positions do you think, if any, we should be targeting?
Centre back for me is
Okay.
vital. We need somebody to replace Vinny. And then again, it all depends on Danilo as to whether we go for another right back. My only concern, Andy, with it is how confident are the club about this transfer ban that might be coming up? And can we sit on Danilo and Otamendi in particular to sit around for 2 seasons not playing many games? There seems to be a great unity in the camp. We don't want to spoil that. That does worry me a bit. So do we go for a bigger clear out, to stave that sort of a threat off? Or, I think with Danilo, for me, is I really like him. I think every time he comes in, he does a decent job.
Yeah.
Is he better than Walker? No, probably not. But I think he's a decent standing, really decent standing. But I don't see him getting loads of minutes at a really big European team anywhere. So is he not better off staying what he knows here? Unless, again, like we said with Zinchenko, he thinks he is good to get more minutes and does want to move on. So,
yeah,
centre back we do need a replacement for Vinny. If Otamendi goes, then do we need another one, or do we then promote Garcia in and then possibly a right back? I think we're all right up front. That'll be Aguero and Jesus. I'm happy with those.
Phil?
I'd like to get Maguire. It's probably not a very popular opinion. I just think that under Pep he'd do very well. I think I really do.
Maguire? You've seen in the live vlogs and things. I've had loads of things with Maguire, and I think he would do very, very well under Pep. I really do.
Yeah.
There's today rumours that City are not going to pay anywhere near that, and are just basically are going to pull out of anything. They're not going to go over this. What they believe is 70 million is a fairish deal, and I think Leicester have come back to United over the alleged £70 million bid and basically went, no chance. We want 85, 90 million quid or something like that. So I can't see City going anywhere near that, in my opinion. Even though
I don't think anybody will. I don't think they should. He's definitely not worth that.
Yeah.
But as you've said a few times on the vlogs, it's not really about the fee as far as we fans are concerned.
Yeah.
I believe he would become our Sanchez if he walked in on 280 grand a week. It would cause so many problems with all the egos in that dressing room, and it would, and rightly so. It's all massive to us, the money, but everything's relative, isn't it?
Like I said, I don't. It don't make any difference to us as fans, and I don't think it makes any difference to the other players in the squad if you paid 100 million for Maguire. I don't think it makes any difference. Well, you put a central defender on 280 grand a week. You're now in the Sergio Aguero price range. Kevin De Bruyne is probably the highest, around 300, 320. But you're now into the bracket of, hold on a minute, Bernardo Silva's probably on 150 grand a week. He's just been player of the season. His agent's going to go, can I have a word, Cheeky? Can I have a word for him? I'm player of the season. How's he on, nearly double what I'm on?
It's why I'm also glad we didn't go for De Ligt as well in any sort of serious way, because I think the effect of him on 320 grand a week would have had exactly the same effect for me.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
That's a ridiculous wage to be on at that age, and I'm sure we have a massive wage bill, but we don't pay Sanchez wages, and we're trying, we don't want that destroying. My only other concern really with Maguire, if he was to come in at that kind of price, I think everybody would expect him to be first choice. And where does that leave John Stones? I think Stonesy. I think he's having some personal difficulties, or he seems to be having. But he's a great player, and I want to see him pushed aside. And I think that's why, if I had a choice between Maguire and Aki, I think I'd go for Aki, because I think Aki would be
rotate.
Yeah, I think they could rotate a lot easier. I think the press will be straight on Maguire's price tag. Aki won't come into that sort of price.
Yeah.
I think City fans as well will be expecting Maguire to be our best player if we're paying the best price for him as well.
Yeah, it's a good shout, mate. It is. I'd like him at the right money on the right salary. I would like him, and I think he'd do well for us. But at that kind of asking price, and that kind of salary, cause nothing but trouble. It won't be worth it.
I mean, don't forget that 280 grand a week, and I've said it on the channel. I mean, that's allegedly. I mean, we don't know whether that's absolutely true or not. But for me, I've said it for 12 months. I love Nathan Aki. I think I thought when we played Bournemouth, he was probably the best player on the pitch. He was absolutely superb. Young. Just think what Pep could do with him. But I think, okay, so you think possibly, definitely, we definitely, both of you agree, we do need another centre-back. Yeah?
Yeah, as well.
What about, you said a right-back possibly, but this is all dependent on Danilo and whether Danilo is happy to rotate. Obviously, the point you made there, Chris, about the fact of if FIFA do end up banning us for the underage signings, then will we get a 2-window ban like Chelsea, or will it just be one because ours was only 9 players, but Chelsea's was 29? So knowing FIFA, they'd probably give us a 4-window ban for less players. Anything to get at us. But okay, so we're looking at a right back and a centre back. Well, there's still the rumours of Cancelo. I said it yesterday that I still think it's dead in the water. I said that last Friday. I thought it was dead in the water, but there was this little glimmer of light coming out that maybe it's being rekindled again, and maybe there's still the possibility. So, but I think if Cancelo does come in, Danilo is definitely gone. And like I said numerous times, I can't see City paying 65 million quid for Cancelo and then going, oh, and Danilo, we're selling Danilo now, because we won't get the money off of the clubs knowing we've got to sell him. They'll want a deal done for Danilo first. And then we'll tie it in with the Cancelo deal if that does come off. So
just weakens your position completely.
Yeah. Plus it does well. Instead of sort of saying, look, no, we want 25 million for Danilo. He's a world-class player. They'll go, well, we know you've got to sell him. We'll give you 15 million. The City will have no bargaining power whatsoever.
Exactly.
They'll lost 10 million straight away. And we're paying 65 million or 60 million for Cancelo. So
I quite like Danilo, to be honest with you, as well. I do. I think he's a good squad player for definite.
Yeah, I don't think he's let us down. And he's flexible. He can play right back. He's played at centre back, centre midfield, and but he might just be at his age now that thinking another big payday, and I want game time. I don't want to be play 15 games a season. I want to be playing regularly. So. Centre back and right back, then, I think everyone can agree potentially that's what's going to happen, or not. We'll see.
I'd like to shove Bravo out the door. I know that. He's absolutely hopeless. He scares the death out of me.
I said it 2-3 weeks ago. I still think it'll be Edison 1, Bravo 2, and maybe the keeper from A-Bar coming in, and the likes of Muric and Grimshaw go on loan because they need game time. Because the A-Bar keeper at 35, 36, he's happy to be third keeper knowing he'll never play like Taylor. And he wants to be a coach, a goalkeeping coach. So, I don't know. I've got a funny feeling Bravo's going to be number 2. Let's face it, he did us all right in the cup competition. So,
well, one of my family members, and my son actually, believe it, and one of my sons is a Red, would you believe? I didn't get custody of him until he was 9 years old, and it was his mother's last kick in the clems for me. That was, but he sent me a thing, Claudio Bravo highlights, a video, and it was just a blank screen. And at the end, it just said "Thanks for watching." There was nothing on it, one of them. So,
right, okay. Just finally, before we wrap up, one last question, and that's. Do you think we prioritise any competitions next year, or do we still have this attitude that we go all out in all 4 competitions to win every single one of them? Or do you think there's one in particular that we really should be going all out for? Over to you, Phil.
I'm an advocate of going for the Champions League.
Okay.
I'm narrow-minded enough to get peed off when the Reds keep telling us we're not a big club until we've won it. I don't want to be, but I am. And I think, going back to one of the earlier subjects with that, we could blood some of the players in the 2 domestic cups, and certainly in the Carabao Cup as well, and not risk the first team players so much in it. And I just want to win that Champions League, I'll be honest with you. And for one season, although not this season coming because I want a back-to-back-to-back. I wouldn't care about the Premier League just for 1 year and win that, go all out to win it. I really would.
Well, I said it's still the Premier League for me every day of the week, and I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered about United and what other plans say about City. But I do. It would be nice just to get that monkey off your shoulder.
The Scousers are doing tomorrow.
It's one less thing that they can actually throw at us. But yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. I think maybe back to back, and then I wouldn't be too bothered if we won the Champions League and not the Premier League. But I'd be gutted if we didn't win the Premier League and didn't win the Champions League. So. Finally, that same question to you, Chris.
Premier League for me, it's the bread and butter. Champions League, it'd be nice to win it for David and for Aguero and Pep and the owners. The owners definitely want it.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'd like to win it is to stick two fingers up at UEFA, and my biggest fear is that they're never going to let us win it anyway. So let's take the Premier League seriously. Do you really think do they really want Man City fans at their showpiece final booing their anthem? They don't want us there. They don't want us there.
It's a weird stat, actually, isn't it? That Pep Guardiola's never won it without Messi in his team.
Yeah.
And that's fact, isn't it? So he's got something to prove as well, really, hasn't he?
Yeah.
We'll take Messi for a season or two, can't we?
You know what? I don't think he's ever going to leave Barca, is he? Unfortunately.
Yeah, not on 600, 700 grand a week or whatever he's on.
Around for him if he's struggling,
Yeah. What makes me laugh though is on social media, the Liverpool fans in particular going on about Jurgen Klopp's won the Champions League, and you forget how many times Pep's already won it. At the end of the day. So, well, anyway, this brings us to the end. I want to say a massive thank you to Chris.
No worries, mate. Thank you.
And to Phil.
No problem, Andy. Thanks. Nice to meet you again, Chris, as well.
Yeah, and you, Phil.
And listen, this is the first episode of pre-season friendly. Like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to chat to City fans, asking them all about the current topics that are around, whether it be signings, whether it be we've got the pre-season friendlies coming up in Asia, so we'll probably do something around that as well. But if you want to join. And come on, all you have to do is send me an email. It's mcfcfantv@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you'll get notifications when new videos are coming through, which is every day. And don't forget, go live most days, nearly every day, around about 4 o'clock. So this is Andy from Man City Fan TV. This is pre-season friendly episode number 1. This is Phil. This is Chris. And we'll see you soon.
Take care, Blues.
See you later.